So we're going to do one together. So it's a long one. So I'm going to read it first, and then ask you to read it, and then we're going to do it together and fill in the missing words. So I'll go first. This is with B's. This is with the B sound. Okay. So, okay.
Lord Almighty, what is that?
So, Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said, "This butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So 'twas better, Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter." You think you guys can do it? Yeah? I think you can. Okay, Anatoly, you want to try?
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said this butter is bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it will make my butter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter, so twas better Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter.
Perfect. Awesome. That was phenomenal. Good job. Okay. Are you ready, Caesar? You can do it.
Okay, I'll try to do my best.
You can. Don't worry.
Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter batter, it will make my batter bitter. But if a bit of better batter, that would make my batter better. So she bought a bit of batter better than her bitter batter, and she baked it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter. So was better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. So before we go any further, are there any words that you guys don't know in this tongue twister? Do you know what butter and bitter and batter and better means?
Butter is for bread, right?
Exactly. Butter. Butter is like the creamy dairy product you put on bread.
And the bitter, I think, is how it tastes. How
Exactly.
something tastes.
It's like a bad taste. If something's bitter, it doesn't taste right. Exactly. What about, Anatoly, do you know what batter is?
No, I don't know.
Do you, Caesar?
No, neither do I.
No. So batter, so it's another like baking term. So batter is, for example, what you have before you make cookies. So you make cookie batter, and then you put the batter on the sheet, and you cook it, and then you have cookies. So it's like the mix of things before it's cooked. So it's like pre-cooked cookies or pre-cooked bread. It's kind of like dough, but for different kinds of things. So you say dough when we're talking about bread, but you say batter when you're talking about like cakes or cookies, things like that. Does that make sense? It's what's all mixed together. So like eggs, butter, flour, everything mixed together before it's cooked.
Is it a synonym of dough? Dough?
Dough? Yeah, it means it's basically like dough.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, any other, here, let me pull it back up. Any other words that don't make sense?
No.
You know what better means, right?
Yes, better is the comparative of good.
Exactly. Good. Okay, nothing else? No other questions?
I'm trying to understand meaning of that whole passage.
Okay, sure. Take your time.
Betty Butter.
Right, so.
Okay, thank you.
So she bought some butter, right? But the butter was bitter, right? So the butter didn't taste good. And she said, if I bake with this bad butter, right, it'll make the batter bitter, right? Not just the butter. But if she gets better butter, it would make the batter better too, right? So then she went and got some butter, that was better than the bitter butter and baked it in her batter. So the batter wasn't bitter. Yeah?
Mhm.
Does
She
that make
cooked.
sense? Sorry?
The conclusion is she cooked something.
Yeah, she cooked something that wasn't bitter. Exactly. So she bought some bad butter. So does that make sense for you, Caesar?
Indeed.
Yep, the meaning of
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so now that we more or less know the tongue twister, we're going to try to fill in the words that are missing. So here we go. So I hope you guys remember what it was about, because now we have to fill it in. Okay.
Oh, come on.
So Betty Butter bought some.
Butter. Well, the pronunciation is similar, right?
Yeah,
Butter.
that's what, it's the whole point. That's why it's hard, right?
And the
Yeah.
cream.
So what did she buy? Caesar.
Butter.
Butter, right?
And
B-U-T-T-R.
the butter of the cream.
Butter. Good. Butter. Okay. But she said, this butters. What about you, Anatoly? What's the next word? This butters.
Bitter.
Bitter. Good. Bitter. Good. If I this bitter butter. What's that word, Caesar?
If I butter, I think it's the similar to dough. That butter.
Similar to what?
Similar to dough.
Batter. So if I batter this bitter butter, So the next one. So this is
if I
batter.
bake.
Exactly, good. Bake. If I bake this bitter batter, or if I bake this bitter butter, good. And then what's the next one, Anatoly? It will make my bitter.
It will make my butter bitter.
Batter. It'll make my batter bitter. Good. Okay. But a bit of butter.
Bitter.
Which one?
Bitter butter. Yes. Bitter.
Bitter or better?
Better. Oh, bitter.
Better, right?
Yeah, better. Okay. Yeah.
Good, right? Better butter, right? Because she wants some better butter that's not bitter. Okay. So a bit of better butter, that would make my better. Anatoly, what would it make better?
Butter.
Batter. Good. Batter. It would make her batter better. Okay. Make her batter better. So she a bit of butter. Caesar?
So she bake bitter.
So she went to go get more butter, right? So what did she do? She a bit of butter.
So she went.
Okay.
She bought. She bought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she bought a bit of butter. Good. So she bought a bit of butter, and then Anatoly.
Better than her bitter butter.
Right. So she bought some new butter, right? That was better than her bitter butter. Good. And she Caesar?
And she baked it.
Baked. And she baked it in her batter. Good. Baked in her batter. Good. And Anatoly? And the was not bitter.
The butter was
Batter.
not bitter.
Exactly, good. Batter. So the batter wasn't bitter. So it was better. Betty. Caesar? What's her name?
So was better Betty's butter?
Yeah, so what's her name, right? Betty.
Butter.
Botter. Yeah, Betty Botter. Betty Botter bought a bit of butter. Anatoly?
Bought a bit of butter. Butter.
Butter. Right, butter, right? So that's the whole story. She got some better butter. Right? Okay. Okay, awesome job.